Okay, good morning, my friends. How is everyone today? We can see the indexes are up overnight, um, not strong, but mild. We also see that crypto is kind of flat, and we see that metals are slightly down, with the exception of copper. Copper is pushing higher as I had expected, and I've been talking about copper moving upward towards $6, and it's doing that today. It's up 2.5%. So that's actually a significant move. Oil is holding steady. It's down slightly at 97.5 a barrel. Natural gas has fallen pretty hard to 267, and I was expecting it to come down because I said this summer months we're not going to need as much natural gas, and with what's going on politically, I was figuring it was going to fall. So it did. And let's pull in a closer look at some of the individual markets. I just have been looking this morning, by the way, at Nexstar Media Group. They were upgraded. They had an analyst upgrade, and I think the new profit target is somewhere in the 220s. If I'm looking at the daily chart here, what I see here is that we're at the bottom area of this value area. So we're at about 180, right? And that represents the 61.8 on the Fibonacci. It's actually a very strong support level, and so we see a lot of buying in this area between 180 all the way up to 200. There's a lot of buying in that area. So we're going to look for a move at least from 180 back to 200, and possibly continue as their profit target was, or the price target rather, was raised. They do have earnings in May, but that's a whole month away, so we have time to trade it, and I think it'll do well. You can see the last time they had earnings, it actually bumped them up. When they had earnings in November, it really didn't hurt them much. And when they had earnings last August, it did bump them up. So I would expect them to continue up. I would look to buy this long, or buy an option, maybe long, and target the 220 number as they're saying. If we would look at what an option might look like, we can. I would go out a little bit further than May, maybe go to the August. And you can look there. There's very thinly traded. You could see not too much action there. So you may end up being stuck just trading shares on this one, because there isn't a lot of volume on Nexstar. But it does look like it has a lot of potential to go up from here. Okay, so now what else? Let's take a look. Let's start with the Russell this morning. And so while we're looking at the Russell and the daily, and it looks like a mess, I understand. Don't get me wrong. All right, let's zoom in though, and we can see a little bit better without all the lines and charts and wigglies. We could see that the Russell in the last number of sessions, so we're here on Friday. So since last Friday, for 1 week, we've had this really long trend. And actually, it looks like it started even the Monday before there. So we were dipped all the way down to 2,400 and made our way all the way back up to this 26 number. And this was, where we were aligning on this chart the other day. So I'm not surprised. If we zoom in a little bit more, but actually before we zoom in, I just want to note that there is a top here in the value area, and we're at near it at around 26,666, right? So I'm just going to say, like, probably in this area here, and we're moving up a little bit, but somewhere in this area here, we're gonna top out. So if I zoom into the 15-minute, just give me a little bit tighter view. The last several sessions, we've been going, sideways. So we went up and then we came back down. So I'm going to say If the talks fail today, we don't see anything major. We come down to about the 26.12, 26.13 level. And if not, then, we're targeting back up to 26.80 maybe on the day. Um, Zooming out on the hourly, just to look what we can do. Um, you know, if this trend would continue, then we're looking at, the 2700s in the next couple days. But given that we have Friday, then the market's going to close for the weekend. I think people might be a little bit skittish and want to take some profit at the end of the day. So I don't know that we go all the way up and continue the full trend. Channel 1 does have a target of 26.44 today. So all three are green. So let's say we're targeting this 26.445, which would be a little bit lower than we are now, meaning we may go up like we did here. 27.43 is the target 2 on channel 1, but I don't think we make that. So this is much more likely this scenario where we're going sideways. So we hit on the top side, like I said, 26.655, whatever. If not, then we're dipping under. So what I would do, how would I play today? If I was going to trade the Russell, I would say, should we break above 26.60, it looks like it would be a good day to play long. And if we go below this level of 26, we'll call it 26.41, and if we go below 26.41, then I'm looking for us to short the day. And I just won't play in the middle here, right? Because this is where you're going to get chopped up. So I'm going to try to avoid that area and then play either side of that. If I was going to look at the S&P, it has a very similar story, but a little bit stronger, right? This trend is upward on the 30-minute. Zooming out on the daily, you can see we still have not recovered the highs that we were at earlier in the year. So we're gonna target that peak, but all of this momentum is dependent on the war ending, and I don't think the war is ending anytime soon yet. So I don't think we make it all the way back up here and we kind of curl back down. So zooming in on the hourly, we're very strong, and where our levels are, do we break the 68.77 level here? If we break above it, I'm long for the day. Likewise, I think if we break below 68.50, go short on the day. And then you're going to target somewhere down into this range of 68.11 on the low side. And on the high side, you can continue there. Let's take a look at what that would look like on SPY if you were trading SPY today. So if I was trading SPY on the hourly today, I'm really going to look for a break above 68, like where we are right now. I'm looking for a break above this level and hold. And then, you buy long and hold and try to, 683, take profit. If we break below 678.6, I would call it a day that's short. We may not need to we may not even need to break that far below. We may be able to say, if you break below this 679 level, it might be a good day to go short, because this is looking pretty long, right? It's a good long setup. All my channels are pretty much facing up, but I think the market's skittish. So what do? I think we go up today and then we pull back at some point, back to the 679. So, you know, maybe we play long from here if we hold this after 9:30 or 9:45, and then look for it. But the way the market's been going is that it's been a lot of sideways action. So you see the day before or whatever, we just went a little sideways. We're hugging the bottom of the channel. Now we're going to hug the top of the channel maybe, of 683. So maybe we target that as a profit target, 683, and then wait for it to come, then flip the reverse and go short. Let's look at the Qs. So NASDAQ, very similar picture. We're a little bit on the positive side on that NASDAQ, higher than I thought we would be. So that's actually a good sign. Tech is pushing up today. 614, 615 would be my target on the high side. On the low side, if we come down below 609 on the Qs, I would target 605 for profit, or possibly 603 as a second profit on the Qs. Let me just look at the MNQ just to look at the NASDAQ numbers. And so on the NASDAQ itself, we're holding above this 25,300 level, and that is pretty significant as a level, right? If we break below 25.2, then we can see the market go short for the day, right? So if we don't hold this 25.2, then it's possible to hit below 25 again, like 24,950 or something like that. So we're looking to see which direction the market plays out today. It's looking long, so we can possibly look for a long market there on the NASDAQ. Let me go back to my chart here, and so we could see that I just want to point out here on the 30-minute, we're looking strong on the Russell. The Dow has some resilience, but this red on the average bear is not confidence inspiring. Same on the S&P. It's giving a little bit of word of caution. The longer trend on the NASDAQ on the 30-minute is negative, so we do have some positive momentum. All of this is not very confidence inspiring, right? The red all over the MSL on Solana is not confidence inspiring, but Bitcoin is showing some resilience at 70, coming up to the 72.5. 73 looks like the top side. So if we break below 70, I'd say if we break below 71.5 on Bitcoin, then we're a little bit, in trouble, coming down to possibly 70,100 and then continuing down if that breaks down. On the flip side, if the market shows resilience, then we can continue going positive. Let's take a look at Bitcoin, because it does show you a little bit of sentiment about what the market is doing and like what people are thinking, right? This is going to show you like cash flow and what people are expecting the market to do, right? So when people are feeling a little more exuberant, I think they're putting money into Bitcoin, and when they are a little bit more fearful, they're pulling money out of Bitcoin, and so that is sort of also giving us an indication as to what then the financial markets are going to look like, because I've been finding when there is a correlation between how much people are investing in Bitcoin and then the performance of the rest of the stock market. I think as an individual investor, right? The institutional investors may not be changing their tone as much, but surely it is possible. So zooming out on Bitcoin on the 4-hour, you can see that this 75,000 level has been very difficult for us to break, and we haven't broken it since January, right? So we dipped below it in January, and now we've been holding there. It looks like almost like a 1, 2. This will be a third try to break above 75,000, and we're getting there. We're at 72.5. We're at the top of this value area, so it's going to be difficult for us to break above unless we see some major exuberance. And what I would expect is exuberance from, let's say, something happening with the war in Iran. That might be a trigger for people to start pushing money back into crypto. Another thing to think about might be cyclical, like what are people doing? I'm zooming out on the weekly and just looking at how this has moved overall. Let me clear this chart. And I'm going to spend a few minutes uh, just showing you how I sometimes look at the charts and make some drawings so that I can show you and I can define the pictures that help me trade. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to establish levels. And so I'm looking at where I see the individual weeks peak out, and I'm looking for like a number of them to align, right? So now I can draw a line about here, and this line would lines up with the tops of a bunch of these weeks. It also lines up pretty well with this value area, the top of the value area. And I could do the same thing on the bottom side, right? But I'm going to be a little bit more cautious, and I'm going to look for a low here. So I'll put another line there. What you'll notice is now there's a big gap over here until there's another level. And so that next level is somewhere up in this area. And I'm going to say it's around here. And then there's another level, and you could see it's pronounced at around 97,000. Then again, we can come up to the 110,000, 109,000 level. You can see I'm kind of putting in some areas where there's an alignment of movement, right? So another thing I like to do is I like to see if things move in patterns. And so we see there's this move, let's say, was sideways like a block like that. Could that happen again? So let me just duplicate that drawing and see what happens. Does it fit? And it kind of does, right? It fits. And if we hold it over different areas, you can see that this is the natural range that that Bitcoin has been moving. The width may not be the same, but the height has been the same. So, we can extrapolate from there. This is the typical move that Bitcoin or crypto is maintaining. And so we're going to look for some sort of alignment here, and we can just drop this over here, right? And so what we're looking for now is we're going to say it's established a range, and the range might be from 77,000 on the high side to about 61, 68 on the low side. So if I was going to break this up, and I zoom in, and I would say, well, we're probably in the upper 2/3. We're at this resistance level, and it's going to be hard for us to break up and go over from here. So I'm not really very strongly long on Bitcoin until I can see that we break above here and start to move with some strength. Now we zoom in and you see, what does that look like? It means we've just been bouncing around in this orange area, and every time we get to the top, we kind of get pushed back down. So what does that mean for us? It means that the move in Bitcoin is not strong enough to say that there's a total market reversal, and so if we're going to play Bitcoin, to me it's still short. You could see on the daily line chart, channels 2 and 3 are down, although channel 1 is still up. On the hourly, everything is green, right? So being that everything is green on the hourly, I'm going to remove this drawing so let's get it out of our way. But still, we're at the top of the value area. So unless we get to this value area and then traverse back up that to the 75,000 level, I don't think I would play this long. I would have to see more confidence before I would play this long. And that means that, what happens with the rest of the stock market? Does the rest of the stock market play long, or do we see some spike up in price and then, maybe a pullback? I don't know. Solana the other day was under 70, under 80, and I said it was like 78. I said, buy Solana. It's a great buy. It pumped up all the way here to 86. Now it pulled back. It looks like we're at 84 and it's following the same sort of path as Bitcoin. Now, let's take a look at Solana and see if it's any different. If it's going to tell us a different story. And so far, let's see. We're at 84. The top of this value area is 84.8. So there's a little bit of room to go up to the top of the value area in the immediate section, but not a lot. It is pointing though to the 87. So if we do continue, there might be another $3 that we could see in the next few trading sessions. So what I would say is look out for today. If we see a pullback to the to below 80 again, I'd consider getting long and then hold and try to get back to the high 80s or 90 again and just play the flip. That might be an interesting play. Let's take a look at something else today. We'll come back to indexes later, but I want to point out that the VIX has fallen. It's below 20 again. That's a good sign that we are in positive momentum. The tick is neutral. It's at -7, so that really doesn't change anything for us. Let's take a look at what oil is doing. It's pulling back a little bit from the peak we saw earlier, which was over 100. So let's take a look closer at oil and see what oil is doing today. So we've been following this last number of sessions, some sideways movement, with 93, 92 being on the low side, the high side being about 100. Now we've got these wicks underneath the bars and they're pushing up. But that also is just showing that we're at the top of this value area, which has like about 100 being the top. There is that magnet, the value area focal point, which is at 96.5. And then you have the bottom side of the oil being around 92. What does that mean? It means if we break above 100, then there is possibility to continue. And if we pull back, then the possibility is to aim for that 92 number. Obviously, the lower number would be better for the general economy, but we'll take what we can get at the moment, just trading this. So again, you can see on zooming out on the 4-hour chart, if I was going to draw a line, you could see that the peaks of the wicks line up around 92. And on the top side, you have, again, alignment at about 103 as the top. So this zone is a trading zone. And what I would do is if I was going up above it, I would play the break above or play the break below. From here, it looks more likely to come back down, right? On channel 1, we're pointing downward on channel 1 with a target of about the 92, but channels 2 and 3 are still pointing up, and you can see that, basically since the start of the war, we've been on this upward path pointing towards 120 on the top side for oil. It's not sustainable for the economy to have such expensive oil, and I think if oil does get that high, we're going to have some major implications. At the moment, as earnings and things like that are going to come in, we're going to see a lot of pressure on earnings because of the price of oil and shipping and all of that, the factors, because oil is a component in a lot of things, all the plastics and whatnot. So a lot up until now, stores or retailers have been absorbing some of the costs. I think it's going to negatively impact the economy if oil does not fall, and soon. So let's see. We now have, let's take a look at the euro, because this is very interesting. The euro is really pounding upward, and I see that we've really come back up to these upper levels. When we were down here around 1.15, I was saying, it's really low. I was concerned that that it was going to pull back further from there, but you could see I charted out 1.15 being the bottom. It held the bottom. It's now past the point of control all the way up to a new value area low, and then it's targeting back up to 1.18, possibly, going back to that 1.2 number if we really see something major happen, I think, in the Russia Ukraine war. And I think that's going to be the difference for the euro. But economically, the European Union has a lot of pressure on it, and the relative performance of the dollar versus the euro, that's what's playing here, right? So I don't mean to make any sort of word salad because this is the euro dollar conversion, but we're in a battle to see which has the stronger economy. And you know I think we're facing a lot of pressure, and you could see if we're at the top, if this is the top, this Fibonacci is at the 50% level on the 4 hour. Does that mean it's a top? I'm not sure. Do we continue? I don't know. Sideways channels on 1, 2, and 3, basically, right? 1 and 2 are almost down a little bit. Channel 3 is the one that's kind of pointing up, but that really is a very sideways movement, and you can see it's been like that for months. And the way that you play it is when it's at the bottom, you buy and sell at the top, right? So are we at the top? Not yet, but we're getting there. Would I buy here? Maybe. I might buy. I might consider buying long here because we're at the bottom of this value area, and it's very easy for us, I think, to continue to the top of the value area. So let's look at let's look for the euro to go up. Okay. What else we got? Let's look at copper. Oop. Hello, copper. Copper's doing the same sort of thing. We have a high of close to 6. The low was closer to 5.75. We're midstream. We're at 5.88, almost $5.89, up 2%. I'd say we're going to push up to this $6 level on copper, and then I don't know what happens. I've been playing with ERO copper, and they've been performing pretty well. They're now $30. They were around 24, so they at the bottom of this value area. I got a signal, and copper came up, and I'm looking to get out pretty soon. So what I'll do is I'll either exit or we'll look to sell calls on the position and just try to capitalize on the time, because I don't think copper's really coming all the way back down. Let's take a look at silver. Silver's at 76, and you can see it's at the top of this value area. Now it may traverse the gap and go all the way back up to the $90 level, but we don't have a trend on the daily for that yet. We do see that the RSI is positive, so that's a good sign. It's possible, but it's going sideways enough that my channel markers are not working well at the 4-hour level. The 1-hour chart, you can see we're at the top of this value area. There is a big gap here. If we break above 76 and hold where we are now, there is the potential for us to go back up into the 80s. Let's see. I'm long silver. You can see that it had a bottom of about 67 recently, and it's working its way up. I'm cautiously optimistic, I should say. But I think given everything in the economy and everything else, money has to go somewhere, and usually it's gold and whatever, but a lot of that has to do with the yields and and other factors that impact gold. But even that is changing from what it used to be. So, you know, there's a change in the world between where countries, I should say, store money. Do they store value in commodities like gold and silver? Or do they store value in their currency? Or do they store value in assets like companies? So where do you put your money to store it? And that is one of the things that's going to impact the the value of gold or the price of gold. And so I have these channels marked out. On the hourly, we're looking for high sides pointing back up to 4,900 on gold. We're at 4,800 right now. We're a little bit down for the day, about a third of a percent, but we're holding. And I think this is a long-term trend. It's looking good for gold that we're going to continue. We're in this gap area that I have identified previously. So, movements in this area could happen rapidly, and we could see 5,000 in short order. So I'm long gold, even though channel one is pointing down, my channels two and three are pointing up on that daily, and that's a good sign. So it looks like we have some sort of reversal here. And the hourly being positive, I'm long gold. I like that. I think I would prefer to get in a little bit lower, but if you're playing long term, this is a longer term swing and it looks pretty good. We're coming up on 9 o'clock, and let's take a look at the sectors. So we can see going across the sectors, there's a lot of positivity coming today. I like the way XLC is looking. The communication sector is doing pretty well. And I had traded recently AMT. AMT came up as an item on my scanner, and kind of, I think when it hit here, it popped up on my scanner, and we're about here now. So I made a couple dollars on it. I think we're in for a longer term, trend reversal with a lot of this real estate stuff. It has been going sideways. The truth is, it has been going sideways, with 190 being closer to the top and 170 being on the bottom. So, buying at the 170 was a little bit more confidence inspiring. They do have a small dividend coming up, which will push the price back down about $1.50, $1.70, like what it's paying. But it'll reverse right out of there, not a problem. That having said that, I would be buying at about 170, looking to sell or take profit in the 180 range where we are now, or holding and looking for the 190. They do have, I think, a price target of 220. So it's looking to come back all the way back to that upper level there. And that would be a great win if that happens. Now, AMT kind of falls into an interesting niche because it's a real estate company, as well as they service and build those cell towers. So there's exposure to communication as well as real estate. And lately we're looking at real estate coming back. And so we were looking at XLRE, the real estate ETF. It was going sideways for months, with a bottom of around 40 and a top of around 41 and a half. It's now at 42 and three quarters. I think it's continuing looking to target this upper level, 44 and a half or so, maybe even 45 in the next month. But again, you want to be cautious because it has had a lot of lateral movement, and anything then is possible. But being that it does pay a little bit of a dividend, these REITs, it may be a safe play for some of this. Now, thinking about this is that you know real estate is not going away, and unless businesses are closing, they need to have real estate. These REITs pay a dividend, so in an uncertain economic time, a REIT might make sense. You could buy the REIT, hold the dividend or whatever. Now, I was looking at some ETFs that might have these things in them, and none of them were really great, to be honest. I did play with we're playing with DRN right now, and you can see I bought it down here. I'm holding, looking for close up, a little bit higher, another 50 cents. But yeah, it was a really small trade that looked pretty safe. So I'm looking to take some profit soon. And if you want to do trades like this with me, just follow and watch me every day, and like, subscribe, comment, share. It helps my algorithm, and it also will remind you to check in with me. So I'll have those tips and things like that of trades that you can take on the daily. Let's go back to here. So we looked at real estate. Let's take a look at another sector. We got 15 minutes before the open. Let's just take a look actually quickly at the indexes and see that they're holding. The Dow is holding flat. It was down earlier, then it was up a little bit. Now we're just basically flat. I see the same. We have a little bit of a spike up in the Russell, and we had the same thing for the Nasdaq and the S&P. They all kind of like spiked up, and now they pulled back just a little bit before the market opened. We probably see a little bit of profit taking, and those early hours of trading they're slim, they're light, and it's easy to trade in some ways because they're not as active as daytime trading. It also is the closing of other markets, and that changes also what's happening. But I usually notice around 7:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. You'll see a lot of activity happening, and I think that's like our brokers starting to get up, and or not brokers, our individual traders making some trades probably early in the morning. I don't know. Um, just a guess. So right now we're holding at the VIX is 19. The tick is not changed because it didn't open the market yet. The Dow is flat. The other indexes are up about an eighth to a quarter. Okay. I'm going to take a look at the financial news real quick, see what's happening. Um, Israel is continuing to strike Hezbollah. Today we have jobless claims at around 12:30, and the Philly Fed business index is at 12:30. That'll happen later. Up until then, it's going to be pretty quiet. We have the Eurozone CPI numbers that happened at 9 a.m., and that might have been some cause for movement, but I don't think so. The big news is that Donald Trump said that Iran is doing a very poor job with allowing vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. They're charging them or whatever it is. They're not letting them through, and that's causing a little bit of concern for us this morning. Apparently, Iran attacked Bahrain, and the UK condemned it. Wow, interesting. Okay. The World Bank could mobilize 20 billion to 25 billion in post-war support. It's interesting that they're already talking about that. Okay. So let's see. Hmm. Well, it was nice to have a couple of viewers. Um, we're going to take a look at what's going on in the rest of the market. Let's take a look. See, my watch list is not bringing me anything anything big. We had this Nexstar upgrade. So we got a few minutes till the market open. Let's take a look at XLC. So this is the communication ETF for the market sector of communications. It has Meta, Google, Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, Charter, Live, EA, Netflix, T-Mobile, Fox, Omnicom, Warner Brothers, The Trade Desk, and Disney. Those are some of the big picks in that sector. Overall, you could see that, Netflix is on a recovery. It's back to 100, back over 100 rather. Google looks like it's on a recovery. Meta's on a recovery. But Verizon, AT&T, and Comcast, they kind of pulled back. I don't know why, but they did pull back a little bit, representing a small possible value. But I'll say that, I don't know, when AT&T was at 24, I thought it was a better buy. Not so much at 27. If I see it pull back, then more that's possible. But you can see that AT&T is actually sitting right now at its 200-day moving average at 26. So that's an interesting place for AT&T to be. If it crosses below there, a lot of people look at that as a negative indicator for AT&T, and then you would target that 24 number. Same with Verizon. Like if Verizon doesn't hold this 48 level, I could see Verizon coming back down to 44. Comcast is at 28. I think it has the opposite. I think Comcast has room to go up. Charter Communications is at 223. It is on a somewhat of a positive trend, although it's below its 200-day moving average. Disney is bumping up against its top, which is around 100. And the trade TTD, I think that's the trade desk, that's at 2060. Warner Brothers Discovery, I don't know, it's at 27.5, moving sideways. Omnicom looks like it's sideways below its 200-day moving average. Fox is below its 200-day moving average. T-Mobile is sort of interesting. It's at 200. I think it's supposed to be higher. I have 186 as a support on T-Mobile. Let's take a look at T-Mobile. So T-Mobile, I have like a support at 186. I like it down here at like 193, let's say. 190, even 195, and then look for 200s, mid 200s. Let's see if I can find a price target on T-Mobile. So Goldman Sachs has a price target of 253, right? So that's here, right? So they're saying it's going to go back up to the top or close. This is the point of control is 237. They're looking for a target of 253 on the daily. It's a significant move if we're at 200, right? So if you look at the weekly on T-Mobile, right, they've been doing pretty well, right? So this is their long-term trend. They're coming to this red line that I kind of marked out as the top of this channel, but it's possible that they've created another channel. So sometimes things move in these channels, and this is the new channel. It's possible. Now, what would that look like? And it might look something like that. So now we're at the bottom of this new channel setup with potential long back to 258. So that's where they're coming up with that 250 number. You could see, and that right there in that channel, it's pretty marked out clearly. But I would target, personally, I would target to 246, something like that, as a profit target. Just if you can make 20% from here, that would be great, right? Let's compare that with, let's say, AT&T on the weekly. AT&T doesn't have as strong of a trend, but it has a very strong trend. And you can see that AT&T went from 12.5 all the way up to 30. Now we're sitting at the trend line support of like 26.5. Value area bottoms 24, top is 30. That's mid-range basically where we are right now. So it's kind of sketchy to buy in here, but it's a consideration because AT&T does also pay a nice dividend, and they have a price target. Let's see what their price target is for AT&T. So Scotiabank upgraded the price target to the 30s. KeyBank has it at 30. Citi has it at 30. So that's more than 20% from here. So that does represent a pretty good opportunity, right? You can buy AT&T, plus you're getting like a nice dividend on AT&T. So we've got, what's the dividend on AT&T? The yield is about 4.5. So 4.5% yield on a primo stock is great. Verizon should be a similar story with 47 now. I would have liked to get in a little lower, obviously, but the bottom of the value area is about 39. Top is closer to the 50s. We have, let's say, the dividend yield on Verizon is 6.7. That's actually almost 7% on Verizon. That's crazy. And we're looking probably for a very similar price target. Let's see what they have, like a price target. If we can get the news up here. And so I have a price target of 51. I mean, 51. Let's see. 52 from Deutsche Bank. And we've got Barclays. Barclays is at 47, which is where we are. So, but Citigroup has them at 55. Interesting. Raymond James is 56. Scotia has them at 55. So we've got somewhere, let's say in the mid 50s. We can call the difference 53. And then, maybe you say that's like a $5. So about 10% up from here. It's not super strong as a direction, but it does have some potential, right? So if I go to the hourly, what do we have in the hourly? Anything in the hourly? No. Down on the hourly. 30-minute, we're going sideways, sort of. So we don't really have the rebound indicator on the hourly that the rebound would be if channel 1 was up on the hourly. Let me take a look at AT&T to see the difference. Yeah, same. Like, I don't know, on the hourly, it's just not. It didn't show me the reversal on the hourly. So let me zoom out to the 4 hours. The 4 hour is interesting because there is some sort of alignment on the channels. Let me go back to Verizon because they do trade similarly. So there's room for Verizon to come down more. They're about to pay a dividend, or they did pay a dividend. What is it? The dividend's on today is the dividend. So yeah, it makes sense that the price is falling a little bit today. I would look for 45 maybe to get in if it falls more, and then look for it to rebound. It looks like it has a good story. Verizon, T-Mobile. Right. Yeah, AT&T has been the strongest of them. Comcast is another one that came up as an alert, and I think that actually looks like it has just on the chart room to go up. Now, Comcast does not pay the big dividend. Oh, it does. It pays a 4.5% dividend. It just paid the dividend. Interesting. And price target is about 34. So back up all the way up here. Looks like a pretty interesting buy. I would like to get in closer to 27, about $1 lower, but we are looking for 34 as a thing. So you could do this as a swing trade, and that would not be bad. You could be buying Comcast, although you just missed their dividend. Right? Okay, now great. Let's see, what else do we have in the markets that we need to look at? We're at 9:27. We have a couple minutes, 3 minutes before the market opens. And so far, all of the indexes are positive right now. And we've got the Dow still positive, holding there. But I just want to point out, you can see at the bottom of this value area, there is resistance though at 48,583. So we're a little bit above where we are. There is resistance on the Dow, and let me zoom in just to show you a little bit closer. Can we see it? Nope. Yeah, we need to use the 4-hour to get the detail. But it is possible that we continue to break out and over and go back to target that 50,000 number. I'd like to see that happen. So you see we traversed the value area gap. So this gap between, let's say, 48.4 and 48.8, we've really kind of just jumped across there. So now let's see if we can continue the jump and get back up to the 49,000 level on the Dow. The Russell, it does look like it traversed all the way back up. It does have room to go back up to 2705, so I'm looking for it to continue, but it might pull back like anything else. Okay, silver is holding on the 4-hour. The S&P looks like, we are at some sort of intersection here, although channel 1 is pointing strongly up, all the way back up to almost this 7,000 level. So will that happen today? Possibly. Let's see what happens in the market. We have one more minute till the market opens, and we'll go from there. Let's pull into the 1 minute chart, and let's watch what happens with the S&P. So there we are. We're breaking above a little bit. Let's see if we hold here. All right. Let's see. Trying to push up. We're at 68.75 on the S&P. The Dow is giving up a little bit. Gold is giving up. Silver is giving up. Bond market's giving up. Oil is up at 98. The S&P is trying to push ahead. What the Russell? What's the Russell trying to do? Russell's trying. You can see we're pulling back down to this point of control. NASDAQ copper is pushing up. Copper is up at $5.89. Getting really close to that $6 number. NASDAQ seems the strongest of the indexes. It's up about 1/3%, up 100 points, pushing. And that's good. And I think we have Solana's pushing up, and the tick is positive 300. The volume on demand is a little bit low. It's down a little bit. The Trin is, I think, flat. The VIX is at 19. That's good. If we look back at my watch list here, we're pushing up on all the indexes except the Dow. The Dow is holding there at 48,335. The tick is at 80. It's basically flat. The VIX is down at 19. Oil is holding at 98.30. Natural gas is holding at $2.65. Silver is trying to recover. And copper's running. So is Harley. All right. And that's a look at the markets this morning. So now we're going to look for the opening 5-minute range at 9:35. Once 9:35 rolls around, we're going to look to see the bottom of the day is this red line of 25,308, and so far the high of the day is 25,372. So we're going to look for it to break out between those levels and play directionally the market after 9:35, or if we see some movement in a direction strongly. So let's see this morning if we have anything coming up on any of our watch lists. And you can see the NASDAQ is pulling back just a little bit. Pull up Novavax. They've been monkeying around lately. They're not doing so well. They're down about 4% today. What else is happening today that's interesting for us to look at? It looks like Google is up 2%. Healthcare is, as a sector, is not moving up. Let me take a look at the sectors and see what the sectors are doing today. So far, XLB is up, XLC is up. XLC is the communication, B is the building materials, or and then come on, XLB. Let me just type it in and it should show you the name. Materials, right? So materials. Financials are flat, a little bit down 0.5%. Energy is down 0.25%. Technology is up. XLK is at 142 flat, basically. XLY is flat also. It's up. I mean, it's up 0.25% today, but I don't. That's the consumer discretionary, and just to give you an example of what XLY holds, um, their holdings are, let's see if I have it here. Amazon, Tesla, Home Depot, TJ Maxx, McDonald's, Booking, Lowe's, Starbucks. That's XLY. So, I think Amazon is looking pretty hot these days. Tesla's not. Home Depot, um, I think that's going to be affected by the weather, which, we should have construction. That should be good. But the economies might be a little bit flat. So that might not be good. I don't know. There's potential, but XLY looks like it might have. It's not moving strongly. I'm a little concerned that it's not going to continue there. XLV is healthcare. It's down about 0.5% today at 148.50. XLV healthcare. Big holdings in XLV are like United Healthcare, J&J, and Lilly. Lilly has been struggling lately to get back up above 1,000. It was at like 950. It's at 943 today. It's down 12. So Lilly is one of those that we have to keep an eye on. It does have potential. Oops, let me zoom out on the daily for Lilly just to show where we are with Lilly. It's on this downtrend, but the channel 3 is up. I'm a buyer at around 900. I would buy it and then try to sell it closer to 1,080. So we're it's in a downward trend. We're not at the bottom and we're not at the top. So nothing to do with Lilly, but that's an example of what's going on in healthcare. We can also take a look at UNH. UNH is up slightly. We're at 309, up 0.5% today. And I'm going to target 371 on UNH. I have one share for my son, and he's doing well on it, thank goodness. Piper Sandler has a price target of almost 400 on United Healthcare. So I see 370 as a likely possibility. I would be a buyer closer to 287 and a seller at 370. So a little bit lower I would buy, but not here. It's too high. Let's take a look at J&J. J&J looks good. Look at that. That's a nice trend. I would be a buyer closer to the lower end here of around the 233. We're at 239 now. We do, let's see what we have as a price target, around 270, 285. 285 price target. I see that possible on my channel 3. So, there's maybe a 15% upside on this on J&J. I'd like to get in lower, but not here. And that's a look so far at the morning indexes. Let's take a look. We're at 940, and I'm going to go back to my indexes here. We could see the Russell pulled back, the Dow pulled back. The S&P is almost flat, and so is the NASDAQ. So we're trading in a range today. It doesn't look like a strong breakout. Copper is up. The euro is up. Gold is flat. Silver is flat. Gold is down, rather. The silver is down slightly, and platinum is down. So, yeah, this is what I pretty much expected for a Friday in a war zone. So yeah, you could be looking to, if you have profits on the day or whatever, you could take those, and go from there, right? So I'd like to see. I have this little scanner here. I'm waiting to see what comes up on the scanner. So far, nothing came up. I am considering. Let's see. Let's go back to healthcare on the index sectors and see what we were seeing before. So healthcare XLV, we're off just slightly today at 48.85. And, we're really close to this bottom of the value area. So I'm looking for us to continue making our move up. I think we're in a good buy zone. So if you wanted to buy here, you could. You could buy here, have a stop just a little bit lower. You can give yourself like 10% room on your stop, or 5%, whatever you feel is comfortable, and go from there, and target a little bit higher, to take profit, right? Because we always want to have a profit target. Like for example, channel 3 is saying 163, about 8.5% higher than here. You could start to take some profit. Okay, I still don't have anything on the swing trades. The daily going into it, we're still not in a deterministic pattern. We're in that middle area. You could see the open high was at 25,371. The open low was at 25,307. We didn't break in either direction yet. Trend is still up on the 1 minute though. So let's see what happens if we break below there.
Please hold while I try to connect you.
Let's see. Good morning, Vietnam. What's Amazon doing today? Amazon is up 2%, all the way up to $238. Opening salvo, it's above its opening range, and it looks like it might continue today. That's cool. Like I said, healthcare is not pushing up, which I'm annoyed. I want healthcare to go back up. Let's see, Tesla. What's Tesla doing? Tesla. Good morning, Tesla. We're going sideways today. We're up 0.5%, about $2. I don't see us trading outside that range right now. So we're looking for a break above 348 on Tesla for it to resume a positive trend. But while my channel 1 on the hourly is up, channels 2 and 3 are not. Now, this is an interesting one. This is the CB Richard Ellis Real Estate Income ETF. We're positive for the day. We had fallen to about $4.15 on last Friday, and we're back up to 470. So it's a nice little move percentage-wise. It looks like it has room to go back up all the way maybe to $5. So maybe another possibly another 35 cents. That would be great, right? Almost 10% on a $4 stock. So nice little trade there going on. That's the 4 hour, right? So let's take a look at the daily. Daily $5 is definitely possibility, and that's where I have a lot of alignment at $5 on the real estate ETF. So another 40 cents possible. Again, I would have recommended to pick it up at a 4.25 when I did, but let's see. It comes. These are the things that are kind of coming up on my scans, and that's what I've been looking for. So, all right. Let's look at AMT this morning. What's AMT doing? We're holding steady at 180. Amazon, we're up 2% to 238. Let's look at CoreWeave. CoreWeave is up 4% to 96. I'm looking for $100 on CoreWeave. I think that might be really cool. Let's see, Google. What's Google doing? Google's at 320. It's up 0.5%, $2. We're coming in close to that top on Google for their trades. Nvidia is up 1.5% to 187. I'm looking for like 195 on Nvidia as a target, maybe to 200 possible outside. What's Procter and Gamble doing? I have a couple shares of Procter and Gamble. They're just kind of sitting there flat at 146. And 141 would have been the entry. I'm looking for this reversal to come back to the 156, 157. We do have price targets of about 170, 165. You can see that my chart is pointing to those numbers, and it's a 10% move up. It's not huge, but it's definitely possible in the next couple months. So that's what I'm looking to see, if we can get some sort of reversal on Procter and Gamble. Now, what's XLK doing today? We're holding. We're holding. Okay. Now, let's see. I did see AMD is up today. A lot. 5% up on AMD to 250. Look at that. That's what's probably pushing up XLK today, because I don't think it's NVIDIA. But let's see. NVIDIA is up 1.5% to 187. That's pretty good. We do have some new movement in, let's see, I don't know if it's Photonics and Wolf. Let's see what ELV is doing. ELV is up 0.5% to 318. Elevance Healthcare. Let's see what their price target is. Everscore has a price target of 345. I don't know that that is good enough for me. Is it? It's pointing up to the top here, the bottom of the value area. It might not be a bad trade. Let's look at the hourly. On the hourly, we have about 9% to get to the 350. 316 would be the entry. So 318 is not great. Not bad, but it's just not great. ServiceNow is doing terrible. They're down 7% today. Oh my God. That's just awful. Eesh. Wow. Wow. That is really bad. What's going on with Service now. That's crazy. UBS downgraded them to 100 from 170. Wow, but Goldman Sachs still has them rated to 188. That's a crazy difference. I think ServiceNow is way oversold. I don't know what's going on with them. Just zooming out to the weekly. Hold on one second, guys. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, sorry I missed your call. I'm on a call with tech support. I had some computer issues this morning.
Okay, cool.
I'm working on that now.
No, that was it. Just just make sure you got it, and if there's any feedback that you had. Mm-hmm. I put price levels in the text, and except for a couple of them, I think CoreWeave. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, the Amazon one you could change to the current strike. CoreWeave update to whatever the current is. Yeah, go. Yep. All right. Yeah, you can just work through it, and otherwise, I think everything is fine. AMT, you can adjust AMT to whatever current is. I think it's just below 5. But other than that, you're fine. I think I have everything in there. Thanks so much. Okay, thanks. Bye. All right. That was me taking care of fixing the last of my trades that I had submitted. And let's see what happens the rest of the day. With that, I'm going to bid everybody a great morning. Let's see what happens with the rest of trading. We're holding positive on the NASDAQ and the S&P, but the Russell and the Dow are a little bit low. And you can see the reflection in oil coming up. Let's see what else is happening just before I sign off. If we have anything in the news. Let's see what's going on in the news. We see Wall Street. Nope, nothing big in the news dropped that I see yet this morning. We just have CPI is at 3.3. The forecast was 3.4. So that really shouldn't change the market. The consumer price index. All right. Well, that's it for this morning's trades. I don't see big movement in the indexes this morning, so I'm going to take a break now, and I'll catch you guys later. Thank you very much, and have an amazing day trading if you're going to continue trading. Thanks.